Hi, welcome back to my channel. Volodymyr Kadansky is here. In this episode, which is going to be very long, I'm going to describe almost all functionality you can achieve in the Worklair. This video will be structured in the chapters in the YouTube, and we also plan to cut those chapters and put this in the help center so you can have sort of like video confirmation of the textual documentation. While it might not be the most funniest video so far, it gives a really deep perspective into what you can achieve with the Worklair. Stay tuned and see you in the video. Authentication and onboarding. We begin with the landing page, clicking sign up, putting the email in this. After we input the email, we hit register. Now I have to receive the code from my email. I copy pasted it in my buffer, and after entering it, I can create a password. So we will create a simple password here. Hit register and continue. Now we begin the process of filling the profile. I'll select some name and New York time zone. You can upload the profile photo here as well. Now the organization name, demo label, same New York time zone, and country United States. I have to clarify here that organization name can be changed later, as well as logo. Organization time zone is selected for a reason, because all of the reporting that's going to happen will by default run around the organization time zone. So if you have someone working overseas, the reporting will be adjusted to your time zone, the organization's time zone. The country can be changed if it's not Australia. In Australia, things are a little bit different. So please select your country so you don't have any problems. On the next step, there is a quick quiz. And we are getting to the page where we can select the plan. Right now we don't have basic and only pro plan is available. So I click start trial. You're not going to be charged at the time you register, but instead in 7 days. I'm going to select build monthly, leave 3 seats, and click start trial. As you can see, no credit cards were asked for me. Now at the finalizing step, we can click, we need to create some first project, so we're not begin with the empty stage. I'm going to create my agency, just to clarify that it's my internal project. And in this field, since I don't have any clients yet, I'm going to click, type into internal. And the system offers me to create this client. Now when it's done, I see the notification window confirming this step. Hitting next. I don't have anyone on my team members list. I can invite them here by putting some name. Let's invite myself. I'll invite myself in the role of worker. Demo worker at Worklair.io. And select the type, role type worker. We will talk about role types later. And the role I'm gonna put software developer. I don't have any role yet, so I click here so the system can add this first role. And the rate type is gonna be hourly, starting with a 50 to 60 rate I'm gonna pay for the contractor, and the rate I'm gonna charge to clients. And the next, and yeah, I see this. He's added here. I can actually cancel invitation or invite another team member. From this point, I'm going to hit next. I don't want to invite any collaborators yet, so I skip this. And after seeing the summary screen, I confirm. This is how you authenticate, and you also end up with the first project created as a space here. Now you can see the top toast messages above about the trial. So you need to update payment info if you want this to disappear. And it says 30 days. I think we are gonna have 30 days trial anyway. And notifications are disabled. This is for desktop notifications. I don't want to receive them, so I just close it. So at this point, you have created organization, created a project, and ready to work inside. Next step, we're going to focus on inviting team members. So in the top, you can find the team. Here, you can see 4 tabs: active, pending, deleted, and all, as well as grouping settings and the opportunity to invite a new team member. You can also spot that we have this window on the chat. So I just want to close this widget so I can have more real estate for me to work on the team. For the team, we have pending. As you remember, during the onboarding, we have created we invited the first worker. Now, at this point, you might want to explore other different roles, such as demo manager. I'm just going to reuse the same box I'm using for demos. And manager going to be project manager. We don't have this role yet, so system offers me to create one. And instead of hourly, I'm going to select fix it. It's going to be renamed to internal because it's not participating in the reports which you generate for your clients if they appear inside the platform. But it's for internal records. Both invitees gonna stay independent until they receive, until they accept the notification invitation inside the email box, and we will proceed there shortly. Before that, I want to add another role. Final is admin, to highlight the main role types. There is also another role called Collaborator, which we're gonna cover later. So they're all going to be, let's call it COO. Role type also going to be fix it. And hit save. So at this point, we have emailed 3 different users to join Worklair. Quick note, you see the asterisk because the system has widespread feature which hides or shows sensitive information. To finalize the inviting flow, and before getting into looking how it looks like from the point of view of these users, we're going to go to our first project called My Agency. I'm actually going to go to settings. Here in the bottom there are menus like the chat. This is default space. I don't have any chats yet, so I'm not going to pay attention to this right now. What we're really interested in is the second tab, and hit collaborators here. This is how I can invite clients or collaborators or someone representing their side, client side. So in case you invite someone from the client team inside the Worklair, you go to collaborators of the specific project and you hit add collaborator here under collaborators page. So I'm gonna use the same pattern in this demo. I'm gonna call it demo client, and demo client will be the email. This flag show costs allows the collaborator to see costs. Sometimes collaborators shouldn't see the costs, so in this case I'm going to leave it. And there is also one more thing, is when you hit the 3 buttons, you can delete the collaborator, resend the invite, or set as main client. Now, resending the invite makes sense when the collaborator didn't respond within 24 hours and the invitation link is expired, so you can resend a fresh link. Set as main client gives some extra functionality to this collaborator, as they will be able to see the invoices. So for the sake of this exercise, we will make this collaborator main client so they have the full functionality. Getting back to the team, we're going to summarize that we have 3 team members invited and the collaborator, which results in 4 users invited to the platform. Before we finish this chapter, working on the team and inviting the team, I want to show you that you can group the team tab members by status, role type, and role. So role type is basically this domain role, like workers, managers, and admins. It's a system role. And the role, your custom one, is a role you create. So basically, you can see the departments here. You can do some extra things inside the team about working cross organizations, but we'll cover that in another chapter. So let's take a look how the invitation looks on the side of those who we are invited. For that, we will use a separate browser window. Inside the mailbox, the receiving party, in our case it's demo worker or the user with the worker role, going to receive a message like that in their email box, inviting them to collaborate. The verification code is set by arrow, that they can't input it anywhere, so they have to click here to verify your email instead. Once they click it, they will be navigated to onboarding session. After clicking the link, I'm landed up on the create password page, which means the link works. So I'm going to create the password here and continue my onboarding. I already have the first and last name taken from what owner has put. Let's say I agree with that. I hit save profile and continue, and now I need to confirm that I want to join this organization. So I hit join. Now the system offers me to refresh the page, and now I'm in. And since I've been invited during the project creation, I see the project here. Now let's see what user will land on when he is not invited for a certain project, as we did not cover allocations intentionally. So first of all, I'm going to log out from here and proceed to the email box. Next, onboarding coming for the manager. So I'm following this link, ended up on the password page. Same pattern but with a different name, and refreshing the page. Now, since I'm not allocated to any project and I'm manager as well, managers are allowed to create projects. I can create a new project, or I can wait until I've been allocated. We'll get to this point shortly when we'll end up onboarding the admin role. I'm logging out, getting ready for admin and going to their inbox. Same button with the admin. Now the admin is different from manager and worker. The admins is almost owners in their permissions level, so they can automatically see all the projects and can manage other team members. So here on the example of this admin, and as you can see, we have everyone in active tab because everyone has accepted the invitation. I can allocate the worker and managers to the different projects. Volodymyr Worker already allocated to my agency because during the creation of the organization he was invited to this specific project, so he doesn't have to be allocated. When it comes to manager, he is not in any projects, so we hit add allocation and select my agency. The difference in allocations between the hourly and fixed rates is that for fixed rate, you set it up on the whole worker here, and for the worker role, for these hourly rates, you select both rates here and you can edit it at any time in the future. Now, at this point, the whole team is invited, and also the team accepted the invitation, so they can start communicating inside my agency project. So every project acts as a space, as a workspace, and here you can continue working by adding the task or building up the communication by creating new channels. Before we dive into the next steps, I just want to share that you can delete the allocation. You can also delete the whole team member outside of organization, so they won't have any access to the platform. We also have these two extra functionality called share team member and move team member, which is connected to the feature called cross-organizations communication. In Worklair, organizations can interact with each other, but we'll cover this in another part of this tutorial. Worklair chat. So every project contains the space with the chat. You can create channels, direct messages, and the tasks are also will be grouped here. The configuration of the chat and how it shows can be found in this third cog icon by selecting chat. The project, as you might find from this cog icon, can have a different name. Let's call it software gigs. You can upload the logo. There is also some other options we will cover when we'll get to the rates, tasks and other parts. Right now we'll focus on chat. So here you can specify the settings for how the channels should be sorted, showing either all conversation, only unread, or unread in your favorite section, notify about all the new messages, and as you can see the other options presented here. Keep in mind that having desktop notifications enabled means you will receive notifications even when the browser application is closed. I will show you how you can enable it if you don't see the toast in the top. There's some other options. What's important here, you can find the apply for all projects button. So if you have a lot of projects here, you can apply all these selected settings for everyone, or you can reset to defaults. You can also click the defaults button here and you will instantly navigate to the notification settings of your profile. The alternative way to go there is by clicking top right menu, select your name or keyed settings and navigate to notifications tab. Since I have my notifications enabled here, I don't see the toast, but if you don't, then you will see the toast which would invite you to enable notifications. This is very convenient. When you close the browser, you still receive important messages, especially when you are mentioned. We will begin with creating the channel. So first of all, we have public and private channels. Public channel, I'm gonna create the public channel. So right now you can't create channels without inviting anyone. So the system will show you that message. So I'm gonna add everyone here and hit create. So I invited 4 participants. It's worker, manager, admin, and also client. It doesn't count me. Another channel we're gonna create is gonna be private channel. The difference between private and public channels is that, let me create it with a client, is that private channels can be found via browsing. So imagine I'm a worker, because I'm an owner, I see, I just created 2 channels. So if you're looking for something like private channel, let's say someone would remove me from this channel, I won't be able to find any private channels here. That's why they are private. Other public channels can be joined by clicking there and typing any message. You can also use filters in the browse channel sections to filter different chats. One important aspect here is that channels can be deleted by clicking this 3 vertical dots icon, clicking chat settings. You can leave the channel, you can archive it or delete it. So archiving channel simply hides them from the left to anyone. So let's say you finish the conversation and you don't want to see this channel in the space, but you also don't want to delete it. You just want to disappear from everyone's vision. So you click archive. If you just don't want to be a part of this channel, you can just leave it. So you won't receive any notifications, but you can rejoin it if it's a public channel. And for the deleting channel, it deletes for everyone forever. Now, public channels, as you can see from this menu, can be converted to the private, but this action cannot be reversed. So if you convert the public channel to the private, there is no way making private back to public. You can also change the name or manage the participants from here. Another aspect of managing the channels or chats, we call chat a channel, a group channel. Sorry, a chat is a channel, or group or direct chat or task chat. So there are different options. So another thing is a mutant. Mutant is an overriding aspect of notification settings we've seen here. The muted channels are completely jammed, so nobody can actually bother you unless they not mention you and force ping you. Force pinging is an option we will discover later, but it efficiently says that someone is not available and they will not receive notifications by default. By force enabling it, they will still receive the notification. So let me prepare the example by going to the worker. I logged in into the worker channel, and I want to pause notifications for 2 hours. Now if I switch back to the browser where I'm sitting under the admin, I'm gonna try to ping this guy. As you can see, this has yellow icon which shows that this worker is not available. So when I try to send a message, it will show that Voldemort worker has turned off notifications and offering notify anyway if it's something urgent. So in this case, the Voldemort worker won't receive any notifications unless I click this button. Let me check. So I see it here, but I didn't receive any notifications. So if I click notify anyway, you've heard the sound. This is one of the ways that notification is delivered. Another way is that if I enable desktop notifications to see the operational system level notification, and I will also receive the push notification if I installed the mobile application. So chat at this point is pretty versatile when it comes to managing the availability and also notifying about the urgent matters. We also have direct here, as I mentioned before. So since we have logged in worker, I'll just create a chat and send a message. This would show the messages here. So I'm gonna go to the direct message in the Android section, and I can see the message here. Once I get there, it's marked as read. Another option to see the messages is this inbox icon. When I click it, I can see all of the unread messages. Right now I have just one. When I click on the unread message, it will pop up on the right, and it will not hide until I focus out somewhere. This is made intentional, so it's easy to track which message I'm reading at this point in time. On top of that, I can filter different sources of messages such as channel, directs, and groups, tasks, and where I just mentioned. Now when I close it, all inbox is clear, all messages are red. One another feature we have for the chat called favorite chats, which just efficiently puts it in a special category to avoid the noise from other channels. Finally, task chats we will revisit later when we'll get to the point of creating tasks. Next essential feature is task feature. So inside the project, we can create tasks. Right now in the timeline, I see that I don't have any milestones yet, active milestones. Before we get to the milestones, we will focus on a more simpler usage and just go into the task board. And since I don't need to have the chat and menu on the left, there are two ways to close them. First is just to click this button and hide this widget. There is a hotkey which I'm gonna use right now. It's Shift with different brackets depending on what widget you want to hide, which gives me a lot of real estate to work with task board. Creating tasks can be done in several ways. When you're on a task board, you have two different views, Kanban board view and list view, and depending on the view, you can hit plus button and create a new task. Let's say sign up form. Let's imagine we build a feature. So I just put the title, hit enter, and it's created. At this point, task doesn't belong to any milestone, it just has a title. And since I'm creating from the admin, I don't have anyone assigned yet as well, and I'm going to select worker from here. The view of the task board is very powerful in Worklair, and you can manage it very efficiently from here. But you can also go inside the task by hitting the title. By default, it's opening on the right, but you can also change the behavior and open it in the separate window here when you hover over the task and click this button. So in this view, we have it opened in the separate window. when we have the task chat on the right and the rest of the task on the left. So task chat is the replacement for the comments, and if I write something like hello John Doe, who is owner, the system offers me to invite them. When I do, the Joe will receive the notification about that. Maybe not instantly, but apparently he will receive it. It's Volodymyr Worker, so Joe is actually a client. That's why we see nothing there. I'm a Volodymyr admin, Volodymyr client. Let's check. I'm in the worker account, so we need to actually write to worker. Just invited everyone. Invite them on skip, and since if you remember, I made him unavailable, I got a half ping, so he receives the notification, and it also pop-ups in non-read section or from this tasks group. Now Volodymyr Worker can work somewhere and answer the chat either from inbox or from navigating here. It won't impact the main area, but if as a worker I want to get the information, I click here and it opens on the side panel. If I want to open it in the full screen, I click here, so I can see the information about the task. Now there is also workpad here. Workpad is a convenient view. It didn't update in real time right now, so I have no tasks even though I'm assigned this task. Let me refresh the page. The workpad is just a convenient way for workers to see the task they have, kind of mini view. So in this case, when someone creates a task, it has a lot of properties such as stage, milestone, priority. We will cover everything in this chapter, starting from the stage. So stage reflects whatever I see here. So we have backlog. We can create a stage in progress, hitting by plus, and done. When you inside the list mode, you can't create stages. You can only do this in this view. So here you can just read the task, create task, but you can't create stages. I have 3 stages right now. If I drag and drop the task, I will have the stage updated. So if I go back, let me actually go in the full screen view. If I go back, I see the stage is changed. Another thing is milestone. It's a bigger topic we'll cover in another chapter, so we won't focus on that and skip for now. The priority helps me filter out the tasks and give it priority. Here I can reassign someone who is assignee for this task. I can see participants, which actually reflects the participants from the channel. The another thing we have not mentioned in the chat part is that there is an option to show history to new participants, which is a very convenient tool if you don't want history to be shown. Now another feature has tags, which is very powerful filter functionality. So let's call this task as epic. By calling it epic, I don't want anyone tracking the time exactly into this task, but I just want it grouping some work in general. And I'm gonna give it a tag of authentication, because signing up is a part of authentication feature. And select the color. Now when we deal with tags, we can get back to taskboard and explore the filter option here. Let me close the chat. So when you click filter, you can compose the filters. Let's say I want to see all the tasks which are authentication, so I select tag here is authentication. Since we have just one task with this tag, it will show it anyway, but I also can create the template to save this either under my own filters or workspace filter, so everyone else can use this filter. And I'm gonna call it authentication features or scope. Anyway, save sorting would mean my sorting options will be reflected in this template as well. And when I create and click save, anyone who goes to the filter and hit authentication features will see the same view. This is one of the powerful usage of the tags. Now, another field we have here is dependencies, which links different tasks. We don't have other tasks yet, so we'll cover it separately. And we also have subtasks. I'll show an example how subtasks can be structured for this epic. So let's say we have API for sign up functionality. We also need UI, and we also need design. So I just use the same title, copy paste, and quickly create all of the 3 subtasks. Now I want to have all of these subtasks to have similar tag for authentication, but since it's not epic, it's API, I'm going to create tag for each department working on this task to make it done. So we can have these convenient tags here below, and we will create new tags to define different departments for these tasks to be done. Authentication for UI, and let me call it UI. Now from this subtask view, and I want to focus on the estimations. So if it's an epic, I don't want to estimate it, but let's say for some reason I did estimate it, and I put, let's say, 1 hour 30 minutes into the epic. I will see it in the summary here as the high level task will include the estimation of itself and subtasks. I want to estimate API task, let's say also at 1 hour 30, total in 3 hours for this task. I also want to estimate 2 hours for design and 4 hours for UI. At this point, the total amount of efforts needed to deliver this task is 9 hours. And I'm going to assign people right from here, so I don't need to go to the subtask. Let's say the manager is going to take care of the API task, even though it's weird. I just don't want to invite too many team members here. So after I allocate this task for other team members, they will see it and will be able to start tracking it and work on these tasks. So this is how you estimate tasks, and if the rates are put into a system, the system will automatically calculate the cost of such task, which we'll cover later. Before we proceed, I just want to also clarify that we assign unique task ID for each task. You can click the task URL and copy paste it to any chat. The system will just replace it with the name and the link so users can navigate it easily. You can also put description and use rich functionality of the editor here. The subtasks can be sorted, they can be grouped. If they are not grouped, they are just flat list. If they are grouped, as you can see, it's like all tasks are in progress, but if there are other stages, they will be grouped by stages, which is very convenient. The attachments also works in the way it shows from the chat. So if anyone would drag and drop attachment inside the chat, it will also reflect in the task attachment section if it's a task chat. Finally, task has activity log, which shows all of the actions taken on this task and can allow you quickly investigate what's going on. So task is actually a very rich in functionality solution, and it will be used as an anatomic component to many reports and other data in the platform. I also want to cover quickly the this timeline where we can specify start date on the left and end date on the right. So let's say this task has to be started yesterday and has to be finished in a week. And if I click somewhere else, somewhere outside of the box, I will see the dates updated, and it also show me how many days are left to finish this task. At this point, we covered pretty much everything when it comes to task attributes. And I also want to highlight a few more things here. We have only one level depth between the tasks. So there can be a task and subtask, but subtasks cannot have subtasks. We made it intentionally to make it the overall structure flat and easy to navigate. The task which doesn't have subtasks can be converted to subtask, and it can also be duplicated, deleted, or deleted with subtasks right away. Before we finish this chapter, I want to show you how powerful duplicating tasks is. So duplicating task, beyond taking all of the information from the current task, including subtasks, can also do some extra on top of that. First of all, it can create a dependency with copy, and we will do this right away here. So what it does, when we duplicate the task, it automatically creates dependency with its original. I'll just rename the copy. Sync this task is an extra feature which synchronizes the statuses, so if one task is completed, another will be completed automatically, and vice versa. Let's explore it as well. And there is also very custom but very powerful feature of moving the remaining estimated time. This is very convenient if you have worked on this task, but you gotta move to the next reporting period, and in order to avoid manually moving all of the tasks and calculating how much time you have, you hit this button. It will automatically deselect the estimation, of course, because it's not going to be taken for 100%, but what's remained, and create a copy with the leftover. We will cover this in some other cases later on the road. So for now, since I have not tracked any time there, I will not select this flag and just want to copy the estimation. The assigning can be selected as well. So for the copy, I want to make sure the specific manager is selected. Copy all means reflecting the same assigners we have right now. And I'm going to duplicate it to the same project just right here. But the system is so powerful, it actually allows you to select other projects. It can allow you to select milestone and stage, the target stage. And also we don't see it here because we don't have any organizations in the that works with our organization, but it also can work cross organization. Now let's click duplicate, and the task is duplicated. You can see since the stage was put as backlog, it actually copied here. While recording this video, I made a few other attempts between the pauses, and this is a good example to test how the deleting is working. So the previous attempt, I intentionally named it -copy instead of default name, so it's created here. So now I want to delete it, and it deletes with the subtasks right away. Now this freshly created task with subtasks we have here has all the assignee for selected for the same assignee we have from the original. We also have a dependency, which I can show you here, and it also shows that it's synced, it's linked, and it has a copy. So there's a lot of credentials, but it's very convenient. So when I click complete task, it shows me that there is a dependency, but I'm just go ahead and click complete. Now from this point you see that original is not completed. It's because it's not updated in real time. So if I refresh the page, since I had them synchronized, they are both completed right now. On top of that, from the task board, you can actually do the mouse actions. If you click this round button, the task will be selected. And what's interesting here, if you have a lot of tasks, you hit this button, it will select all of the tasks from that filter. So you see 2 tasks right now, but it shows 8. Why it is so? This is another option in the task board, which shows how we should deal with subtasks. Right now it's collapsed, so it doesn't show subtasks, but if I select separate, we'll quickly realize that we have 8 tasks. That's why it offered me to select everything. So this convenient button works for the filter selected, and lets you not do these multiple clickings right away, but just click one button and select all the tasks. Multiple selection tool for the task board is very powerful, as you can do a lot of actions such as setting the tags, changing the stage, changing the start and date, setting milestone, or duplicating. If you remember from the previous description of the move the remaining estimated time, it can save a huge amount of efforts for your team if you especially work in Agile or Scrum and you need to move tasks from a milestone or sprint to another. At this point we covered pretty almost every functionality not touching the milestone. I just want to also show you that you can export tasks to CSV, which simply takes all of the fields, or you can just select task names, and if I export it this way and open it, I can see all of the data here, which might be helpful if you do some custom reporting to a client. Beyond these filters, we also have search, which searches through the title of the task and the description. We don't have description here, so I can't show it, but if you click the search result, you will end up opening the task. Now, I also want to show you another trick while working with the task view and these different windows opening and closing. So if I go to my settings page and click other, I can see that open task inside panel by default is set to true. So if I set it off and let's say get back to taskboard, I would see an interesting functionality which reversed this action. So by default now, if I click the title, I will have it always opened in the separate window. And if I hover over the task, instead of opening in the full window in the previous mode, it will open the side panel. This gives a flexibility and allows you to define how you want to work. I personally prefer working with side panels, so I'll just get it back to it. So when it comes to working with basic features, the task board allows you to making a lot of stuff like you would do with other systems. But the true power begins when we add milestones into perspective. So milestones and this timeline yelling at us, saying that there is no milestone, inviting to go to roadmap. So in roadmap, we can create a milestone. But before we do that, I just want to quickly tell you what it is. There are different definitions of the period of time when the work should be done. It may be a contract, scope of work, sprint, milestone, you can call it whatever, but it gives a meaning to the group of tasks to bind it to the specific time frame and associate the specific budget with this. This is the main reason why we have milestone integrated into a system. So I click new milestone to create the first one. By default, it offers the current month and the date starting from today to the and just adding 1 month. I'm good with that. There's also type I have to select. It's either time, material, or fixed price. We will cover it shortly, but first I just want to go with time and material and hit create. Once the milestone is created, I also want to show numbers. We don't have them yet, any numbers, as nothing is tracked. If I go to the milestone here, I will see some details, but before we get there, in this roadmap, we can see all of the milestones in the list view. We can see their timeline, how many tasks are there, their status, type, budget, and there is also other functionality. We can delete milestone or we can lock it. So locking milestone is allowed only for owners and admins. It efficiently lets you block any action that can be happened. It's very helpful for having healthy reporting system. Let's say the work is done. Sometimes your team can accidentally track time in something that is in the past reporting period. So locking milestone would efficiently avoid having these issues. By clicking the title, I will get inside the milestone, and remember it's draft because it's just created. So before we get into other details of the milestone, I want to talk about the statuses. Milestone has 4 statuses. Draft, it's the beginning of the journey. Active, cancelled, and completed. So active milestone means it's current milestone, and if someone would track time, not for specific time, it will be binned to this milestone. Cancelled milestone is just an indication that milestone won't be taken to a work and you don't want to delete it. So completed means the milestone is done and it automatically locks and can be manually be unlocked by admin or owner. So when you get to this timeline page and you see nothing here, it says you don't have any active milestone. So in order to see some view here, I need to make it active. Let's do this. Now, if I get back to timeline and refresh the page, I should see a different view now. Now it shows me timeline, but nobody worked for this period, for today. That is burn down chart, and I have this quick tasks progress report. So let's bring some juice into the perspective. First of all, go into milestone. I want to add tasks here. Tasks can be added from this section, and I just want to add, let's say sign up. I need to search for it. form UI, just gonna add the UI task. So once it's added, for some reason you just need to refresh the page one more time. Once the task is added to Milestone, it will be bound to it, and only one milestone at a time can be present in the task. So let me add also design task here. Okay, it's put here. And if I turn on the eye, now at this page, since it's called quote, this tab, it's starting calculating the costs of the task. So this is an interesting scenario here, because design is assigned to the project manager, who has fixed rates. Thus, the rates are not set, so the client will see 0 as well as you here. And UI task is assigned to the worker, and his rates are multiplied. Now when he'll start tracking time, his rates, let me show it, the rates will show on the left. So it's a smaller number, something you gotta pay for the job done, and the bigger number will be shown to the client. So this is how it works. Client will see only the numbers he should see, and you will see your numbers. And for that, we have convenient switch in the top right corner. So right now we see what client sees. If you remember, this worker has $60 per hour, and 4 hours means 240. Now if I switch to company, it still shows that amount, because it's important for us to understand the whole budget. But once the time is tracked, let's say for 1 hour, I will see 50 here. If I go to client, I will see 60. So every actor in the system see only relevant information to its case. This is a basic sort of functionality of calculation. It also shows total here. And before we get into other expenses part, I just want to highlight that we have different types of milestones: fixed price and time and material. The difference between those, and it has this nice warning that it's serious when you change it, is that anytime you work in the time and material, you will show the real value to the client. So if you worked for 2 hours for the task that was originally estimated at 4, the client will see that you have worked 2 hours, and you're likely gonna bill just for 2 hours. But if you're in a fixed price mode, it doesn't matter if you track 2, 3 hours, 5, 6. If the task is estimated at 4, when you complete it, the client will see always 4. If you're not completed, the client will see always 0, no matter whether you tracked 10 hours but you don't mark it as completed. So it simply helps better communication between you and the client to avoid any adverse scenarios in the business. The next item is budget, and it's simply just a identification of real budget. So let's say we have different rates, we have estimated something, but in the end, to secure the deal, you offered some discount, and from the contract, which is 10,000, you agreed to work for 9. So you put 9 here, and you know that this is a real cost of this milestone to deliver, not 10K. This information also would feature the deviation in the overview. So for admin, once some period of time will go, on the budget project deviation tab, you will see that there is deviations in the budget. We'll cover this from the owner perspective later on. Deadline can be also set here. And to finalize the part of the quote, there is also an opportunity to provide other expenses. That happens only within the time and material mode. So let me switch back. So under the other expenses, why it's only shown at time and material, first of all, I'm in the client view. So if I go to company view and go to fixed price, I should see other expenses here as well. So if you hover the eye icon, it will explain that other expenses is actually the time that is tracked not for specific task. There is a lot of situation when some general kind of work can be done, And when you're on the fixed price, client doesn't actually bother about that, and unless you put it into the SOV kind of contract and reflect it with the task, he won't see it, so it makes the communication very convenient. Other aspects of the milestone is just kind of dashboard statistics, so it shows the budget usage, tasks, and member stats. And to make it more interesting, I'm going to show you it from the owner perspective. So I'm going to log out from admin and log in into the owner. So I have logged into the owner account. By the way, as you can see, only owners see the trial. As far as I remember, other team members don't see it. So in the owner account, to see some numbers, because you just started and system needs data to look really useful, I can click and create a demo organization. So demo organizations is a quick look into how Worklair would look like when there is a real data. Some small artifacts, as we don't have logos put there, but what's important, we end up having 3 projects here: LinkedIn 2, Prada, and Land Rover. And when I go to overview, I can actually fetch some information from the past year by clicking period, last year, and I want to briefly touch the overview page. So these milestones we just discussed has a full reflection in numbers here. So the projects, imaginary projects like LinkedIn, Prada, and Land Rover, has 1 milestone each, and the data is collected from these milestones. Now let's review all of the items here. The budget usage shows the summary of all the projects and all of the milestones for the specific period. In this case, it's last year. There is also a filter for projects commercial, which is helpful because you can also get from non-commercial projects some extra information as well. The margin, it shows just a summary of all differences between these rates you've seen in the team tab for the build rate and rate. Efficiently collecting the gross margin from all the projects and milestones. Time usage is the same reflection over the time, and tasks is just a number of tasks. Now analytics tab and is presented by AGM and budget project deviation. So what it means: AGM is average gross margin. That means it calculates average gross margin across all the projects and milestones. In this case, it's 26%. When you hover over a specific project, you can see the real value. Like this current GM for this period is 51%, and minimum and perfect is set between 6 and 74. What is minimum and perfect, and how it can be configured? When you go to, let's say, this LinkedIn 2 and navigate to cog icon, this is something that we have omitted from the previous chapters. The commercial can be set here. Contract type, fixed pricing, or time and material is just a default option for any new milestone created in this project. And the margin goal, the reason why we are here. So it simply shows what your goal, and it helps then the system to show whether you're deviated from your goal or not. There's also main PM. This is a setting which gives PM extra rights, such as creating invoices or seeing this information in the overview about his project as well. So it's resetted from the previous setting. Now we are back. So LinkedIn has minimum 6% and perfect 74% margin, and since we're in the current GM, it's in violet. In this case, current GM is way above the perfect, that's why it's greenish, and here for the Prada it's way below. The project deviation is a little bit complicated to explain if you don't know the context. The reason is you might have auto-calculated rates like we covered in the milestone chapter of the budget. So let's say the automatically calculated budget is 1,918, like here, it's planned, but you somehow secured the deal at 10K. So this means you have a positive deviation, the positive deviation for 8K. This can go in the opposite direction when the automatic calculation went to this amount and you have deviation which is negative. It quickly shows the performance in your organization about the contract secured. versus the rates you've set, and it's very helpful information. Now from this projects tab, you can also have a brief look at the numbers. So it's a very efficient source of information for your top managers or PMO office, which can give the high-level overview of how the projects perform with the deviation of the gross margin to minimum. So if the product, for instance, goes well beyond 49%, it actually goes negative 19%, and Land Rover is actually at 47%, which goes 17% above the minimum goal. This view also shows the main PM set, and you can also archive the projects from here. So the overview and milestones go hand in hand, and with this demo environment you can see some juicy numbers which can help in making decision. Staying in this demo environment, I also want to show some other top level subjects that are connected to Milestone. First we'll go to Prada, and I'm going to select some date in the past for which I know we have some test data. I think it's January. Not so lucky at that. Let's try LinkedIn. By the way, this is how you can see the data in the past for your company. The best way to figure out who worked on what is actually going into Timesheets. So I probably skip the timeline and go to Timesheets. So the Timesheets feature shows the breakdown of the performance of your team for the specific period of time. So I'm selecting the January of the past year, and I can quickly see what's going on here. There are different ways to group the data by project, worker, or client, or even see the time ranges. So let's stay on the project to see like how it looks like. It has all of information here per worker, per task, and the opportunity to open the task as well in the side panel is very convenient. That's another reason why I like this option more than others. And we also can show tags, or we can switch off the sum date ranges and see very detailed view of all of the track time for this demo data day by day. The timesheets also has different filters, and it also shows the organization time zone by default. But if your team works in different time zones, you can select this option and see what they see in their time zones. One another aspect beyond the filters, which can help, which is limited filters but still helpful to see this filter the data by signing tag or milestone, is exporting to CSV, which simply just takes all the data you see and puts it inside the CSV option. Finally, in the timesheets you can also check the activity. The activity tab would allow you to see what your team members worked on. It's a bit tricky to figure out fast who worked on what. I believe I'm looking at the person who did not actually work, but it shows the activity of the day. It seems like nobody worked. Let me find the date when someone worked, and this is the best and easiest way is just to switch off some date ranges. Let's go to specific project and clarify that someone worked on that, and this guy had the hourly rates. So I see Virginia Urbanski doesn't have rates for the hourly tasks, or she doesn't have any tasks. So I think the best data field example here is Gabra Lemini. She worked on Tuesday, January 4 inside the LinkedIn 2, and yeah, let's see if we have for the 4th of January under LinkedIn any extra information we can dip in. Gabra Lemini, January 4. I think demo data just don't contain this information. Yeah, let's see if we can have this information on the timeline. Yeah, probably there's need to be emulation of the real work done to see that. We'll get that shortly, because I want to show you how it looks like in the staging environment, where we have the data to show the timeline and more deeper timesheets. So I'm now in a more data filled workspace where I can see some interesting information to you. So I'm selecting the method. I know that we have data for this time, and timeline, when someone worked in the organization, will fill up automatically. In this case, Marta Ramirez worked on the method on the task Universal Empowering Product. If I click on it, I can see it on the side panel here, which is pretty convenient. The blocks that are not filled with color shows that they are being tracked generally. And if we get to the milestone via roadmap and select the May, let's say it's 15th, we can also go to timeline and see the information from the past. Right now it's weekly. I'm gonna select daily because it allows me to jump in a specific date and see if we have anything under this milestone. What's interesting in the timeline, access it from the specific milestone in the past or just another milestone other than active, that I can see the history of time tracked for this specific milestone. And when I go to timeline, there is only information about active milestone, which in our case is V24. In this data, we can also see that we have much bigger amount of numbers. I can show you how the numbers are different when it comes to track time. So this is time and material milestone. And if I just focus on some guy, let's say on this task, right-sized client-driven firmware, it's 953 to 1056. This is what client sees. If I go back to company, I see the numbers is much smaller on the left side. This shows this amount has to be paid to the worker for the work done, and shows bigger gross margin on this task. Everything is calculated automatically here, which is very nice and easy to use when you need to analyze something. And in the workload, you can see more information about the budget usage, the distribution of the budget usage across the team members, the tasks completed, the time spent, and some member stuff. On the workload tab, you can also see the distribution across the roles. So like each role as a department can show the summaries, which is very convenient, or stages, like the stages created in the task board. There's the solutions, tactics, metrics, with all the summary information, and tags, which is also interesting way to collect the information from custom category like data grouped by tags. Another functionality we have is Gantt chart. So Gantt charts work like pretty everywhere. It just shows the timeline and where the task is on this timeline. You can see the extra information on the side panel. Of course, you can also drag and drop the start and date. You can increase or decrease the timeline. You can have also extra information about whether the task is completed or it's in progress. And there is also filters that works in the same fashion as on the task board. So if I click here, I can also reuse the templates, which is very convenient. There'll be noted that some filters can have different milestones set, so you might not see the data. So let's see what we've got here. Yeah, we still have some data for this filter set, and there is just a few tasks here. Okay. You can also navigate to the specific date on the Gantt timeline, which is very convenient, and the scale. We're gonna add more than view, like monthly and quarterly. For now, just only days and weeks. And you can also apply the classic Gantt start date sorting. So let me actually remove these filters. Hit today, start date, like estimation, deadline, and it's in the past, so that all the tasks are aligned in the past. This menu on the top, as you might guess, it works the same as what you access via roadmap and milestone, but it goes for specific current active milestones. So this is like a shortcut for current milestone. Another tab we have here, the budget usage per day. It just shows when the work was done, how much budget was used, and the time spent. So at this point, we covered pretty much everything when it comes to working these tasks and milestones. There is some hidden secrets beyond here and there while you're working, like you can move tasks between the milestones, which will impact the costs and calculation of the time there. You can change the different types of the milestones on the go if, for instance, someone accidentally made an error. And what's important, when the team tracking the time, the rates you've set here, they retain the historical order. That means, I'm showing a bigger example of the team from other demo account. So here, let's say if I had the worker who worked with these rates, and then I promoted him or her later on the road, our statistics won't be corrupted by this, so it won't update the rates on the backdated, so I preserve historical information, and in the future we can add more charts showing how a specific team member performed, how he grew with the rates, and maybe some other performance metrics. So extra functionality I want to talk as well is on the team side, something we didn't cover before, as it's more advanced, is two-factor authentication. So here, you can see who's had two-factor authentication, and you can actually reset even their two-factor authentication, so they can, and if they stuck, it's very convenient functionality. And you can also we can also discover the sharing functionality. So if we select someone who can be shared, I'm not sure because there's a lot of managers. The best way is just to group by role type, select workers because only workers can be shared. And this guy is shared with us. Yeah, so this is the team member who belongs to our organization. So we can see the shared team member and move team member. The difference is that sharing is a temporary contract. Let's say you do software development and you have a partner marketing company which sold the software development services, resold the services to their clients. So you have a contract, and they manage things in their organization. So you want to just share team members so everything goes under their organization, and you select organization which you have here. How these organizations are interconnected. Before they appear in this list, they have to efficiently invite you as collaborator. So if I go to specific project like LinkedIn 2, hit this I button, click collaborator, and then invite the owner of another organization, they will be able to communicate in this space. They will be able to have the common space and chat, and then the owner of organizations which is invited can actually share a team member or move team member. Moving team member means actually completely moving to another organization, while sharing is a temporary contract. And anytime you share with someone, you see this violet colored bar which shows with which organization you share. You can cancel share here, and the green bar shows the team members who is shared with your organization and from which organization they're shared from. Now, if you want to remove the team member who is shared with your organization, you can just click here and hit remove. And when it comes again to someone you're sharing, you can cancel share from here. Removing it from this menu will remove it completely from your organization. The deleted team members, if they were part of your organization, can be invited back again if needed, which makes it convenient. And we're also going to add the filter to show only shared team members as well. Speaking of the timeline, we've seen the timeline for the project, but we also have a global timeline. If you click the timeline at the top, let's say we go to this 3rd May again, we can see the information from all the projects to this date from all of the team members. So here you see the whole your whole team and what they worked on, which is a bird eye view. You can see the projects and the tasks they worked on at different point in time. You can see the patterns where the most of your team is worked, and this pretty convenient place to find if someone is working right now, like Sarah Nunes, for instance, or worked this specific date. Another global view we already covered was overview, team. There is also clients. Clients is simply a grouping different projects. So when we created the first project during onboarding, which I'm gonna get back to our thin organization. First of all, when we created demo organization, I'm gonna go back to our main organization here. This is how you switch between the organizations. So in this top right menu, there is a lot of organizations. We have demo and we have our main organization here. So here I want to check the clients. As you remember, during onboarding we have created one client called internal, which represents us, and we can see the client here. When you create a real client, when you hit this name of the client, you will see this menu, and it has some extra information to be put. This information will be used for invoices we will cover shortly. So getting back to our data rich stuff. So when you click finance, in the invoicing tab, you can actually create invoices to the clients you have, like we have here for milestone, which dates for June milestone. So right now I'm gonna just delete the invoice to start over. So when you click start invoice, you select the project and you select the milestone. This is how it operates, and then click generate. So it's January invoice because today is January, it picks today's date. Here from the invoice we get a lot of information such as details about client, and Rampel Durgan is our client, and if I open it in the separate tab I can see some details. Before you put the details here, invoice won't be generated. So Rampel Durgan, hitting on this client will open the page showing the client's details such as name, email, and other stuff. This will be used to generate the invoice. And on the other hand, the organization settings, so sending party, also going to show you in the separate screen when you hit the top right menu. And if you are an owner of organization, you click organization settings, and from this page you can go to credentials and specify credentials from which invoice will be sent. And you can have three different transfer types, different credentials for each type, which are going to be used when the invoice will be generated. So getting back, I'm just going to use, okay, let's go international transfer. So we have all this information here, and or maybe domestic wire. Let's go with domestic wire. And I can also add extra recipients who should receive the email. The billing period is not changed and is picked from Milestone, but I can select the date of invoice and due date, and add extra message here for the receiving party to read it. The total is taken from Milestone. It also shows the actual budget you've set, so it shows that the actual budget is different from what you are trying to invoice to. It may be different reasons for that, just work not done completely, or different types of contract. And if it's a fixed price contract, it all will work in the same fashion. The completed tasks will have 100% estimation put as tracked. So if it's estimated 4 hours, you worked only 2 hours, but it's fixed price contract. If the task is completed, it's going to show for 4 hours and you're going to charge for 4 hours. If you want to go actual time, charge for the actual time, you need to go to time and material quote. And here in the bottom I can find also add expense, which is a very convenient tool, and I can put some custom expenses, I don't know, like transportation, which would impact the change of the invoice. And then you click save, and I probably have this invoice for the same dates. You can't create several invoices for the same date, so I'm going to select a different one, maybe something from 2021, hit generate, and then click save. Now I have it created. Yeah, the number is different because I selected different quote. And when I click publish, then email will be sent, so not until that time. Now it's in pending. We can also, from the sending part, mark it as paid, because it's just a manual marker that invoice is paid. Or client can go to finance, and if he has this main client flag, he will be able to see this invoice. Or you can just download the PDF and send it with whatever way it's convenient to you. So you can see here it just contains your organization name, logo, all the details and extra information. And on the other hand, you can also process the bills. The bills is the invoices sent by contractors to your organization if you employ any contractors. And I'm going to show you some past contract. The process is pretty similar for the contractor to generate the invoice, and basically you end up with the same file. It just comes to your organization, and this way we pretty much cover all the invoicing happening in the system. The expenses tab is work in progress, so right now it just allows you to create custom expenses, but it doesn't show any reports, so this section is work in progress. So at this point, finances tab cover us pretty well on generating invoices and improving the functionality to you and your organization. I also want to cover the projects page. This page works like overview, but it doesn't specify any financial information, and it also helps you specify some projects so you don't see the others. It helps you create favorite sections or pinned, and you won't see other projects unless someone mentions you there or sends you a message which requires your attention, or you can go and search it via search here, which you can type the name, visa, and proceed to that project. There is also filters, so you can see pretty much the same fashion like in the overview, but this projects page is available for everyone. So if people are allocated to a specific project, they will see it. Admins will see, of course, every project, and project managers also will see the projects to which he or she is allocated to. I also want to cover the integration section. So we have a few integrations right now. It's GitHub. So when you click GitHub, you go to Worklair, GitLab, and where you can install it and receive system messages about what's going on during the progress. You simply need your developers simply need to put the link to the Worklair task, so it's automatically integrated. And API allows you to create Zapier keys. So this efficiently we have Zapier app, which allows you to integrate with more than 5,000 other apps. The credentials we fill, the billing is where you can manage your plan. The profile settings can be found here and can change the information about the organization, how it appears. And finally, the security tab, where you can enforce the policy for two-factor authentication for the whole organization. When it comes to user settings, we grouped everything either by clicking here on the title or my settings, and you can change the profile information. What's interesting is not covered is availability, so you can specify from which time to which time you're available every day, and it's going to be used by default. And later in the timeline, you can see when your team is available. So let's get back to this main data because it has a lot of data here. So this green section means Iris is available from this time to this time, and if he works in between, that means it's not probably something he planned. And in this availability, if I go here, I can set up the status, or I can pause notifications. So if I pause notifications, let's say for 1 hour, then my timeline will be red. So everyone who sees on the timeline would see that I'm not available, I'm focused, I'm doing something. Or I can set a status like commuting. I can opt out from pausing notifications, or I can opt in. It's like managing the same process from one place, so like both setting status and pausing notifications. Or I can edit suggestions as admin or owner of the space, so everyone can conveniently see some suggestions here, so they don't need to put every time something new and click submit. Now my status will be seen everywhere from the timeline inside the chat and help my team understand the time what I'm into. It's very helpful when someone goes to vacation and put something like vacation, put some emoji icon like palm, and post notification, set the custom duration, custom date and time, and let's say until 26th of January and 8 a.m. So anytime someone hovers on the status, they would see until which time I'm not available and what's going on. To finalize this overly long and complex video, you see that Worklair is a very big platform. I would like to share that we also have a dark theme for those who like a dark environment. There is also other functionality I didn't cover, but we've built it for 5 years, and we challenge almost every case. So you might find it very versatile when it comes to run the whole business, and we continue developing it. Thank you for your time, and I hope it helped you get the answer for your questions, and see you in the next videos.